Hey YouTube, thanks for joining me today. I want to show you something about a car that becomes really affordable recently, and a lot of people are very excited about the car and they want to buy that car because it's much cheaper than it used to be. It's the SL class, the one that started from 2003 and going up to 2000, I think 2010, but these specific ones, it's 2003 to 2006. They have the older motor. In 2006 they actually started with a 722/9 transmission, but regardless, what I want to talk about is the suspension system. This one is a 2003, I think, SL500, and the car, it's one of our customers owns the car, a dealer, and he bought the car, and he bought it of course very cheap, was very excited about that. And it turned out that on the suspension, which is known as the ABC suspension, the active body control, the reason they call it the active body control, because as soon as you crank up the car, it's active all the time, and it's responding to the road conditions actively. But we'll talk about it in a different video. But what I want to talk about, that you can pick up the car really cheap, and you think you got a hell of a deal on the car, and turn out it's got only a tiny little hydraulic oil leak from the active body control from the suspension. And I think it's going to be very easy to fix it, very inexpensive, maybe 500, maybe 1,000. But until you get to a shop, and you're up for a very, very, very rude awakening. So I'll show you the things that we had to change here. The hose itself that we're going to change was very inexpensive. It's a part number 230 997 0632, one of the hydraulic hoses. Here is the hydraulic hose that we got out already. I can tell you that we've been working, today is Monday, and we've been working on that since Friday. I thought we were going to be able to knock it out in about 7-8 hours. Turned out that we had to drop the subframe. As you can see, we have the engine held on the top. Let me see if I can show you. Yeah, this is the bracket that holding the engine, the red bracket holding the engine. But we had to drop down the suspension, the front suspension. You can see we had to take down the control arms. We take them out with the disc because we don't want to have to change the discs. But we took everything out. We dropped down the subframe to be able to replace the hose. The hose goes, there is no other way, trust me. We were trying, and I was trying to find information about it on Wiz, the workshop assistant software. I couldn't find any information. I tried to look on all data, tried to look at Mitchell, all kind of different software, could not find information how to replace this hose. Obviously I also very underpriced the job. But finally we got the hose out. As you can see, all the front section of the car is missing, all the suspension with the subframe. Not a very simple project. But the purpose of this video is to give you a heads up a little bit on the SL classes. If you pick them up, if they have hydraulic system leaks, these cars are becoming affordable for a reason. Every single repair on this car is fortune, and I had more and more of these cars recently at the shop. Probably more than 25, 30 of them the past couple of months, only for hydraulic suspension issues and convertible top issues. And neither one of the situations ends up being cheap. Every single one of them ends up being extremely expensive. So if you're up for one of the SLs and you find them in a very attractive price, by the way, it's the 230 chassis, known as the 230 chassis. And the ones that you're going to find really cheap now are from 2003 through 2006, maybe even 2007. The prices are dropping. And the reason the prices are dropping on them is just because of the amount of work you're going to have to put into this car and the amount of labor that you have to put into this car to be able to make it worth driving. Now, if you buy a car like that and the convertible top doesn't work, obviously it doesn't worth anything. Or if you have problem with the active body control, with the suspension, the car doesn't worth anything too. You won't be able to drive the car. The active body control is what lift up the car and give you the clearance from the ground. So if you see a car like that that is all the way down to the ground and you think you can buy it real cheap, there's not cheap enough that you can buy it. Sometimes even if you got it as a gift, it can be an extremely expensive gift. So purpose of this video is just to warn you, give you a heads up about these cars. If you see these cars extremely cheap, if you go to auctions and you buy them, or if you think you got a hell of a deal on a car like that and you got a little bit leak under the car, it can turn up to be a disaster and a nightmare. So keep your heads up on these cars. Make sure you don't make bad purchasing mistakes on them. And of course, as always, subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions or anything, I always enjoy answering the questions, and I always try to answer them as soon as I can. Thanks for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the video. Wasn't very informative, just kind of like giving you information a little bit about the SLs.